And that's it. That's how you do the lighting segment of this. So that's all well and good, but how do you get the software to work? Well, it's very simple. Just follow these instructions. Pre-chill your oven to minus 420 degrees. Put the whole lot into a roasting tin, surround with a sprinkle of sea salt, pop it in the oven, and if you open it and it goes, then it's ready. Dear Mr. Contraption Factory, don't do that. Sincerely, Pope Gregory the Ninth. Kiss, kiss. How does he know where I live? Well, if Pope Greg doesn't like it, then disclaimer, don't do that. Maybe give this method a go. What you can do is go and do a little bit of research on some Python tutorials. I'm not going to show you any myself in this video because there's a lot to it. But this project is a very simple little thing. And I would recommend this tutorial that I've seen online. It is like 4.5 hours long, but it's been really handy. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I've been chopping and changing bits I've watched. But you'll get all you need to know from what I'm about to show you next. So once you have a basic understanding of how Python works, you're going to need to write a little program to get these LEDs to work. Now, there are a couple of things that you will need to import into your Python code to get started. So we're going to start off by typing in import, and you'll see that comes up in bold because Python realizes that is a function that it has to perform. rp, lowercase I, dot GPIO, the Raspberry Pi GPIO pins, as GPIO pins. Now, I'm not entirely sure why you have to do that. I would imagine that the Raspberry Pi always recognizes its GPIO pins as GPIO pins, but that's how it works, so you have to do that. Now, the way I'm doing this is that I'm going to have the LEDs blink. One come on, another come on, first one turn off, and then the second one turn off. And so in order for that to work, you have to import a time function into the script because Python in its standard form doesn't really do that. So after you've imported the GPIO pins, you need to import, and you just type in time. Then you have to set how it recognizes the numbers you assign to the GPIO pins, if they're going to be pin numbers or the BCM numbers. The two systems are a bit confusing, but everyone seems to use the BCM numbers, so I'm going to do that. So you then type in gpio.setup, open a bracket, and you type in gpio.bcm. So from this point on, the software will recognize that you're using the BCM numbers for the pins and not the physical pin numbers. You then have to set up the two pins, the two GPIO pins to which the LEDs are connected, and set those as outputs. So what you're going to do is type gpio.setup. I'm sorry, I realized I've just made a mistake. This first line, you don't want it to be setup, you want it to be set mode. gpio.setMode, brackets, gpio.bcm. Right, okay, for the next line, gpio.setup, then the pin number, the BCM pin number, put a comma, and then you type gpio.out as an input. Then you do the same thing for the next pin, which is gpio. Oh, my hands aren't good today. .setup pin 23. So those both pins are now set as outputs for the device. So next thing you want to do is give the LEDs the instructions. And you do that by assigning a function to each pin. So first of all, I am going to type gpio.output pin number 18, and I want it to be on. There are several ways you can do this. You can type on or off. Quite simply, I like to use ones and noughts as in binary code. 1 is on, naught is off. Then I want it to wait a second before the second pin comes on. So I'm going to put time.sleep brackets 1. That is 1 second. After that, I want GPIO pin 23 to turn on. So I'm going to put 23, 1 for on. Then I want it to wait another second. Then I want the first pin to turn off. So output pin 18 naught, which is the off function for the first LED. Then I want it to wait another second. That's an exclamation mark, that won't do anything. And then I want to turn the second LED off. Then I want there to be another 1 second delay. And then after that, I want the software to show me a bit of text to say that it's been successful. So I'm going to write print, open a bracket, then speech marks for actual text, and I'm going to type in, yo, it works. Now, a little thing I like to do is just to space that out a bit. Now, this print function here, print yo it works, is the very first thing that you will see on the screen once it's telling you the script is running. Now, I like to give it a bit more space, so above that, I'm going to get it to print nothing. And then I'm going to get it to print nothing again. But that means that there will be 2 empty lines between the text and the indication that the process has begun, which I quite like. And then just to even it out, I'm going to get it to print 2 more lines of absolutely sod all. Now, you do need to save your scripts for them to run, so I'm going to click save on this. And it's going to take a second to open, because I have a very weak model of Raspberry Pi, and pretty much every button click uses the entirety of the RAM and CPU. So I'm going to save this as example project. And now, if we click run, we can see if it's going to work, that the lights work. Gives us a second, and then at the bottom we have, yo, it works. So, success, I would say. So you may be thinking, okay, you made a couple of LEDs blink and written a line of text. But why? Really, it was just to see that I know what I'm doing. To give myself a very basic grasp of Python and of how the breadboard works and of how the breadboard and the Raspberry Pi interact with each other and how Python and the Raspberry Pi interact with each other. It's also taught me about interacting with the various bits of software on the Pi. Learned how to control it a bit better, and I have learned that I need to be a lot more organised. I had a list of things I had to do for making this video, but I only made it about halfway through the process, and I had very little sense of direction. Alfie, stop scratching the door. As you've seen by the change in my clothes and all that, I filmed scenes out of order. As a result, I have probably repeated myself several times because there was no clear direction for me. I'd filmed that, and I'd filmed this, and then I'd filmed the third thing, and I'd already said something in the third thing in the first thing, but I'd forgotten it by the time I'd done the second thing. So I know that I need to structure how I make my videos better. I also know that I need to organise all of the source materials and effects that I've made on my desktop. I need to organise those better because, of course, my video software uses the location of those on my computer as access points for when the software is running. And I've left things with their stock titles, that have strange mixture of uppercase and lowercase and numbers and don't really mean anything. Nothing was clearly labelled is what I'm trying to get at. So I need to properly organise and label my little videos to help me make the big video. And I've learned that video editing is very tiring and time just disappears. I'm new to this as well as making contraptions. As far as the next project goes, I've realised that I am quite heavily out of my depth. Especially if you consider the last thing I've made. It's a massive jump to the next bit. My next idea for a video, my first actual proper project, is what I want to do. I want to build a little MP3 player inside of an old cassette case, which I think would be pretty cool. And I would obviously cut the insides of the cassette case to allow all the components to fit. Then I would design and print out a custom paper sleeve to go on the inside of the cassette like you would normally have. I would cut holes out of the top for buttons. I don't want a touchscreen on it. If the screen I end up using for it happens to have touch, that's fine, but I won't implement it. The whole point of this is I want buttons. So I'm going to have to add buttons in, and a rotary dial for volume, things like that. Raspberry Pis can also receive FM radio, so I'm toying with the idea of also putting an FM radio receiver in there. The problem with that is power. Now, battery packs aren't expensive unless they're really hefty, like the 25,000-30,000 milliamp hour batteries. They're a bit more on the pricey end, but the cheaper ones, they're all out of stock as far as I can tell. Maybe it's just the dreaded plague that's currently plaguing us all. But the thing that's going to be really difficult is the software. I don't yet know how I'm going to make that work. I will make it work, but I'll warn you, it's probably going to take quite a while. But it is something I'm keen to do. It's the whole reason I started this channel. So it might be a while till the next video, but it will come. Okay, bye. Not quite bye, actually. One last little thing. If you've enjoyed the video, please, for the love of God, drop a like, because that could be a huge help to getting this whole thing started. Smash that subscribe button, because I might even put out a second video. We'll see. But yeah, much love. Cheers.